Okay, we're on.
You're live.
Good evening. It's November 17th at a little after 6:30 p.m., 6:35 p.m. This is a Finance and Facilities Committee meeting. Let's start out with introductions. Laser.
Laser Alert Network Administrator.
David Warner, board member, proud parent of a Woodlands High School graduate and chair of this committee. Carol.
Carol Allen, community member.
Katie.
Katie McGee, parent of a 7th grader.
Jim.
You're muted, Jim.
Sorry about that. Jim Wadig, BBS Architects, Project Manager.
Jessica.
Hi, Jessica Muldoon, LFJ parent.
Lisa.
Lisa Raymond, Assistant Superintendent for Business.
Chris V.
Chris Fallon, trustee, parent of 2.
Ashley.
Ashley Pineda, board trustee, parent of 2.
Fred.
Fred Seba, BBS Architects and Engineers, Director of Engineering.
Amy.
Amy Ashley Moore, District Treasurer.
Gabriella.
Parent of 2 Ivy student, 2nd grader, and Lee F. Jackson, kindergarten.
Amy H.
Amy Huang, parent of 2.
Very good. Sarah, we're introducing ourselves. Can you tell us about yourself? Hey.
Yes, hi. Hi, I'm Sarah Lazari. I am a concerned community member. Thank you.
Very good. All right, anybody I missed? Mike Falcone is having technical difficulties and is trying to sign in, but he'll be with us, we hope, shortly. Oh, just a moment. Hey, Megan, can you hear me? Hi, we're introducing ourselves. Would you like to introduce yourself?
Sure. I'm Megan Hack. My son is in ECP and my daughter is in 1st grade currently.
And Mr. Falcone, introduce yourself. You're muted. You're muted. Mike, we can't hear you. Wait a moment. Okay. There you
hear me?
Yes.
I'm not sure what I did, but I'm on. Mike Falcone, Director of Facilities and Operations.
Very good. And one more person's coming on. Looks like Dennisse. Can you hear me?
Hi, David. Yes, I'm here. This is Dennisse Alamo, parent of twins at Bailey.
Very good. Anybody I missed? All right. Then the next order of business is to take a look at the minutes of the last meeting. Let's see what I can do here. It's probably somewhere on here. And that's not where I was trying to go. Second. Can you see the minutes?
Yes.
Good.
Yep.
Okay, so these are the minutes from October 28th. In attendance were Ashley Pineda, Chris Fallon, myself, Dr. Iverson, Lisa Raymond, Mike Falcone, Laser Alert, Carol Allen, Dennisse Alamo, Dave Bridgelal, Katie McGee, Jessica Muldoon, Fred Seba, Jim Wadig, and Sarah Lazari. And we introduced ourselves, went over a set of minutes, adopted a set of meeting dates for the year. I've requested that those be posted on the website and on the district online calendar. I think that's in process. We looked at a number of financial items, which we will go over again tonight, see if there's any progress on them. We talked a little bit about the energy performance contract. We'll hear a lot more about that tonight. We talked about where we were on the external audit. We've gotten further. The board has actually passed the adopted the initial external audit. I think we're working on a corrective action plan. We have the committee charges are part of what's going on the web topic. We talked a little bit about where we were in the audit, and that the repair reserve fund information was dependent on how the audit came out. We talked about Proposition 1. We'll do that again tonight since December 14th is fast approaching. We talked about the status of our facilities, and we'll update that again. And then we talked about an improved project status spreadsheet, and we have we were happy that we made some progress, and I believe Lisa's made some more progress, and we'll take a look at the new sample tonight. We discussed the status of the mansion. We came up with the BBS came up with some preliminary estimates for how much things would cost, depending on what we do with the mansion. We talked about next steps for phase 2, and the administration volunteered to come up with a preliminary proposal, and that's in process now. So does anybody see anything in there that's off or needs to be fixed or amended in any way? I'm hearing none. Do I hear a motion to adopt the meeting notes as presented as our meeting?
Moved.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
All in
Second.
favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. We have minutes. And these will be posted on the district website. Okay, now let's see. Can I, if I get lucky? Yes. Okay, this is the agenda. Okay, we talked about committee charges and meetings. Just a minute, I have the charges that we came up with were actually adopted at a board meeting along with the committee charges of several other committees. So the charges that we asked for are the charges that we got. And then I made a request to update our web topic on the district website. And let's see, can I find that? This is the request, right? So you have, we have the mission, right? These are the changes of the mission from last time. The comprehensive annual financial report takes the place of the 5-year plan, and we have to get the audit done because that's the basis for the current year of the report. And then we I guess Lisa fills in all the material around that, and everything else stands pat, right? So there are the stuff we do in the spring regarding the school budget. There's a prioritization of construction, remodeling, and repair of the district facilities, which we spend a lot of time on. The financial report, and to ensure financial accountability and transparency. Those are our charges. The members, there's the list. We're gonna try and add, I think we didn't quite get everybody. So if anybody wants to join the committee, that if you don't see your name on that list right there, we can put you in to join the committee. It's not too late. So send me an email and let me know. And I think we have one person who's already in process to do that. Okay, so we'll change the meeting headings. We'll set things up. These are the meetings for the year. All meetings are at 6:30 p.m. Right, and right now we're in COVID land. I don't know if that's going to. We thought maybe that was going to change in mid-year. We're not sure what will happen, and then we'll start adding minutes for this year's meeting. So that's what I've requested on the website. If anybody wants to add anything else, make a suggestion now. Okay. So then back to the agenda. Okay. Finance. Lisa.
So Dr. Iverson is trying to join us. Laser is trying to help her to
Okay.
join on, but I will go forward with explaining what we are trying to do. So what we are trying to do here is for our CRISA grant, which is the coronavirus grant, and the American Rescue Plan. So our CRISA grant has been approved, and that is the smaller of the two grants. The American Rescue Plan grant is still under review, and that is probably 95% or more of the school districts in New York State, and that's a whole separate issue. We have been trying to address the social emotional learning aspect of our students. And we have hired, as you know, a district-wide psychologist and some teacher assistants for the ADA people in our district. And we are going to amend our CRISA grant. The money that we want to put towards ventilation, that we would put towards a phase 2 project, we want to use some of that money for social emotional learning. We are coming up with that dollar amount now, and we want to amend that grant to address our immediate needs. Dr. Iverson could talk to that more when she is able to get on. It is almost taking from one pot, putting to the other. We have the CRISA, American Rescue Plan, we have phase 1, and then we're going to have phase 2, which we will propose to you in December. In speaking with Fred and Jim, if we were to propose a phase 2, that is going to push us out to 2022, 23 in the most. So we feel that we could push that out and use the money now for our immediate needs.
I know that as of the audit committee review that we had last night, we said we had about approximately $1.4 million in our undesignated fund balance that was beyond what we could keep from last year's funding.
Correct.
Is this going to offset things?
All right, so you are exactly correct, David. And if you want to like kind of jump down your agenda, the repair reserve balance, after we had our audit and we asked the taxpayers that we could put up to $3 million in the repair reserve, the repair reserve fund balance would be $4,254,327, which is great. Let's get the vote on December 14th, get the taxpayers to agree to do a capital reserve, and then we can transfer money into there. Aside from that, as you just stated, there is about $1.5 million in excess in our fund balance. I'm talking to our attorneys now to see, can we take that money that is in the excess fund balance and can we do repairs? Can we do replacements that are within our legal requirements?
Okay.
Sorry,
Yes, Chris.
sorry, I can't find that. Do you mind just repeating that last part? Taking the money, just repeat that one more time for me.
Which part?
The taking the excess. You're talking about the excess in the general fund balance right now, the 1.4?
Okay, so
using that for capital
right,
repairs
so
right now?
as per law, we can only keep 4% for an emergency fund balance.
Right.
We're over that.
Right.
Okay, so the excess, which is about $1.52 million, what can we do with that? If you remember, Scott Olin said last night, let's spend it on a one-time hit. Could we take that money and replace the mansion roof and substitute money just so we could get it done.
Yeah.
That's something that I have to research. I'm not sure that we can do.
Right. I'm just wanted you to repeat because I want to be sure that's what you said. Because I thought I
Yes.
remember from the audit committee meeting that he indicated we would be able to do some sort of capital work in our current fiscal year. We're
Correct.
just crossing the Ts and dotting the Is to make sure. We're not
Correct.
gonna
I
go-
just want to make sure we're doing it in the right fashion.
Okay. And then, and perhaps I should wait for Dr. Iverson to come on. I fully support getting more SEL support to our children this year. They are falling behind. I do have a concern that was raised in last year's budget work and ongoing. I have a concern when we're talking about, I have a concern about sustainability when we add staff and then being able to sustain that staff after this one-time injection of funds is gone.
Correct. No.
So
you're-
I am not
Yeah.
against doing what you're saying. I'm going to want some reassurance on the long-term plan and not just how it affects this year.
Right. Chris, you are exactly correct. So we have, the board approved that we could hire a district-wide psychiatrist, and that will obviously service all of our buildings. In budgeting for future years, this next coming year, I am implementing all of that so that we can sustain that. Okay, so we are trying to make sure that we can keep the resources that we are providing. And you know what, we have to be cognizant of what we are adding because we don't want it to be a one-time hit. We want to be able to infuse it into our system so that we can keep it for our students. But Dr. Iverson, Dr. Macaluso, and I spoke, and really they could speak more towards the needs that we need right now for our students that are important for this psychologist. I don't think it's a psychiatrist. I think it's a psychologist. And the teacher assistants that we need to provide instruction for our ADA compliant teachers.
Okay, training will last. Okay, so do we have any idea what the price tag is overall for that?
Yes, hold on a second. I have it right here. So if you take into effect the district-wide psychologist, the teacher assistants that we had to hire, and our summer school that was provided, we need about $350,000. So we are proposing that we amend our CRISA grant.
Oh, sorry to interrupt, Lisa. Dr. Iverson just wanted to let you know she's having trouble getting in.
Okay.
But she'll be on
Thank you.
shortly.
Thank you, Laser. We are proposing that we need to amend our CRISA grant. So where we put for social emotional learning, we put for ventilation and for indirect costs, we want to take away from the ventilation and provide for social emotional learning so that we can address the immediate needs. And because we're going to work with BBS to devise a phase 2, that we could incorporate what we're taking away into that project.
And Dr. Iverson has just joined us. Dr. Iverson, can you hear us? Wait, let's see if she's. Ask to unmute. Is Dr. Iverson capable of unmuting herself, or do we have to do something? All right. Carol Allen, you had a question?
Yes, I have a question. We're talking about spending money from instead of spending money on ventilation, we would spend it on social emotional needs. Have we identified which ventilation items would be postponed if we make this change?
Well, any ventilation, and Fred or Jim, please correct me, any ventilation needs that have to be done in any building have to go through the State Education Department facilities planning. And that will take a couple months. So we could include it in one of our projects and the work would get done. So in the CRISA grant, the coronavirus grant, there was $575,000 designated
ECP.
to be allocated to that. The 575 is also indicated for the ECP, which is also in phase 1. So that $575,000 would be added to a phase 2, which would be a year or two down the line. So we thought that we would include it in our overall phase 2 project. But in the meantime, we could use that money to help our students for social emotional learning.
And for academic learning loss, as well as, I'm sorry, go ahead.
So wait, if we have $1.4 million in excess of in our unallocated fund balance, then there should be no problem with our taking that unallocated fund balance and keeping the ECP ventilation in phase 1, so we don't just have a bunch of fans in the windows. We don't need to put it out for a couple of years.
No.
On schedule and we're just shift the money around.
Right. So you're exactly right, David. So ECP in phase 1 their ventilation will be completely done. We'll be done with ECP. That extra 575 that was in CRISA, we want to use that for what the immediate needs are that we need now in other buildings.
The SEL. Okay, so Dr. Iverson, did you want to say a couple of words before we go on to, we have several hands raised, but did you want to say something first?
No, I think I heard Lisa say what we wanted to use some of the funds on right now in terms of addressing SEL and the academic learning loss. As we said earlier during the year, we were going to take some time to identify, with data and so forth, where we needed to begin working. And we have progressed along that continuum and have been able to look at some of the data and now want to begin to address those areas that we know are very important to the student achievement and the students in the district. So we wanted to borrow from that CRESA fund to begin to do that right now. And so that was the portion that Lisa and I spoke about today, looking at a systemic way of addressing SEL, although I want to always support and make sure I alert everyone and continue to remind the community that we do and have been integrating SEL in our buildings. Every building has a model they're using. We heard LF Jackson talk about how it's integrated through every classroom in their building, even in the special areas, very focused. Every building has a model. So we have not ignored it, but it's not systemic. And so as we're beginning to address how it looks from a district lens, as I said earlier, this would cost some money. So we would like to use some of this money to begin to address that.
Okay, and the price tag that Lisa just quoted us, at least for the expenses for this year, was about $350K, which is less than the 1.4 or $1.5 million of excess funding we have in our fund balance. So I don't think we need to put off. Yes.
Nope, David. We're confusing the two. So in the CRISA funds, we designated $575,000 for ventilation.
Correct.
We want to turn that around and put it to social emotional learning.
Correct.
That is the 300 and something thousand.
Correct.
Let me talk with our construction attorney to make sure the excess of the 4% in fund balance, that 1.4 million that you're talking about, can we now redesignate that for ventilation.
Correct.
Right.
Okay. Megan, did you wish to speak?
Yes, so I think you've clarified most of it at this point. My concern was taking the ventilation project out of the CRISA funding because we have continued to sort of delay progress on things like this.
And you know what, Megan, you are exactly correct, but you have to remember, we are dealing with New York State education. Okay, and when we go to do a project, we have to consult BBS, Fred and Jim. They have to do paperwork. It has to go through a process, and it takes longer than you would expect for it to get approved. So in the meantime, we are still concentrating on that. We want to involve that in a project, but in the meantime, and Dr. Iverson, correct me if I'm wrong, we want to concentrate on our students for the social emotional learning aspect. We're not giving up on the ventilation. We're adding it to a project that is going to be called phase 2.
No, phase 1.
Yeah.
No, phase 1, David, is already done.
Phase 1 includes the ECP.
Oh, phase 1 includes the ECP. Yes.
Yes, it does. Okay.
Yes. So what? Okay, so it's kind of complicated. Phase 1 included the 575,000. We had 575,000. It's like an anomaly that we had that in the CRISA funds. We want to redesignate that for something else. So yes, no. ECP will be done. Definitely will be done. And the paperwork is at SED or is going to be there soon.
Good. Chris.
Okay. You know me, I need to regurgitate things a couple times to make sure I understand them. And while everyone's been talking, I was looking up the presentation that was done in August as far as the federal funds for coronavirus relief and our meeting on September 30th in this committee, just to understand what we designated monies for, so I can understand the change. So summarizing so far, ECP ventilation project stays in phase 1. We're just changing the source of the funds, of the monies to pay for it.
Correct.
CRISA, from my notes here on September 30th FinFac meeting, we were approved for 900,000 plus. I don't suppose there's nothing ready for this meeting, right? So I'm just going to read what I have, and then and of that 900,000 plus, we had allocated funds for an ENL teacher, I wrote down, and for SEL stipends and the ECP ventilation, and then various supplies, including Chromebooks, fans, cleaning materials, etc.
Correct.
And so now we're taking that 575 and reallocating it. And you mentioned specifically instruction for training for the ADA teachers.
So we want to take that 575. We want to take that 575 and we want to be able to pay for the summer school that we provided and the district-wide psychologist and
summer school of the year just completed, of the year that began in
yes,
okay.
It was almost $200,000.
Okay, no, I just want to be sure.
Provided to students.
21.
Yep, and the district-wide psychologist and the teacher assistants that we hired to provide instruction in classrooms for teachers that have ADA compliance.
Okay, and then in my notes from September 30th, and I haven't been able to compare this to the presentation in August, for the American Rescue Plan, which at the beginning of this meeting, you said we're still pending approval for that, as with 95% of other schools in New York, or the nation, I don't remember which, many other schools. What I wrote down that money would be allocated to was the salaries for teachers and teaching assistants. So it sounds like that's going to be for a few more years, right?
Right, Chris, it's going to be in addition to.
Right.
So remember, American Rescue Plan is over 3 years.
Right.
So we can continue this, but American Rescue Plan money has not been approved yet.
I understand.
We are not even on the docket to speak with a representative. So our CRISA funds are already approved. I can amend that, and that can provide or pay for what it is we are doing currently.
Okay, but the submission for the ARP plan stays the same as what we were presented in September, that you did include 1.6 million plus
Yes.
for ventilation in
Yes.
there. Okay.
Yes, that's going to stay the same until our representative contacts me, and then I will consult with Dr. Iverson. You know what? They're going to have questions. I can tell you the CRISA funds, it took 3 or 4 submissions before it was approved.
Okay.
All right, that's fine. That's fine. I mean, you know what, the state and the federal government, they have to jump through hoops to provide the information.
Mhm.
That's fine. And I'm anticipating that with the American Rescue Plan. And we will, along with Fred and Jim and Dr. Iverson, Dr. Macaluso, we will provide the information that they need so that we can receive that money.
Okay. And then, well, because the ARP plan also included some professional development in there.
It does. It does. And it will be, Dr. Iverson, again, correct me if I'm wrong, it's ongoing.
Yes, it's ongoing over time. That's where we are coming with targeted. That's as well where we may be looking to do something around math and professional development around math is one of our focus areas. Looking perhaps at a math specialist, all the things we need to have in place to start now is what we're just sort of repurposing funds to be able to capitalize on the needs we have right now for student achievement.
Well, then hearing that, I just want to reiterate what I said earlier when you mentioned a math specialist. I do have a serious concern with us using this funding to pay for salaries for new positions that we expect to continue after this 3 years of funding is gone. So I just need to state that since you're on the meeting now.
And you know what, Chris, you are exactly right. But
we have talked about that. We sure know we're at a point where yes, we have to be cognizant of that. It does not negate what we need now. So I said to Lisa, as you know, we have 3 years out, we need to, way before then, we'll start projecting that need and building that in our general budget moving forward to sustain that position where we possibly, through the 3-year period, will look other ways that we can repurpose, eliminate excess where we are don't need those dollars or no longer using it or is effective, and then repurpose money to sustain that position because it is a position we need. And you're right, one we cannot do without. So I'm not trying to say we're not trying to be fruitful and projecting ahead of time. It's one of those things, we do it now, and we know we will work out how we will sustain it over the future. I have no doubt that we will not find the funds to repurpose and sustain that position because of the need, looking at what we can cut other places, what's not working, and where those dollars then can support this position. The position then could possibly move out of CRISA or out of ARP because ARP, if it's no longer sustained, we can look to where entitled monies, where we can provide some PD, as well as put some positions in some of the title federal money to sustain that position out. My intent and Lisa's is that we are thinking that trajectory. So I want you to know I appreciate what you're saying. We are very cognizant over 3 years where these dollars may not be there. So we will work before that to assure that it's in the general budget in one way or another through the way of by us repurposing dollars that we are using now that we no longer find we need for those particular reasons.
So perhaps we could begin looking at that in this next budget cycle, just so we start
Absolutely.
looking at it sooner rather than later and get that into the general fund as soon as possible.
That's exactly what Lisa and I talked about today. We're not going to wait until 2021 or 23 or 24. We looking at the budget today, we said, let's start looking in this budget cycle around where we can start doing that so that.
And like Trustee Valen, I've already stated to all of you, we may be looking at 2022, 2023 budget, but I am already forecasting out for 3 years. I've already figured this out, or have it on my radar, and Dr. Iverson, Dr. Macaluso, and I, we're already talking about it.
Okay, and I assume that amending the, making the amended funded request doesn't put you back at the back of the line. You can turn the money over pretty quickly, correct?
Yes, correct. It doesn't,
good.
it doesn't affect the bottom line. I just have to reallocate.
Good. Katie McGee.
Hi, yeah, I just wanted clarity on some of the specifics. So the new psychologist would be doing what specifically? Like the same, and I mean the same thing that the building psychologists do, or a different task?
So this person is a district position. So this position will service all buildings. This is a school psychologist who will do a lot of the high level meetings, testing for students, a lot of our students who are possibly outplaced, those in centers where the psychologist may even need to travel there and be involved in meetings at that level. So this person will also support the district, though, with our own testing at the district level at the schools, support psychologists at the school level with more support, more coaching, work very closely with the principals and the CST teams around that model of delivery and IEP development. It's a higher level position, that's why we title it district. So more comprehensive work around school psychology, not just focused on just one building. This person will be very instrumental in SEL. We built that into the job description. So this person will bring a lens around that and support schools through that lens of psychology around what's best for kids, how we can better meet the needs as it translates into some of these meetings that we sit around the table around kids who are having some concerns that may not only be academic, may not be ready to be tested, but may indicate that there's some emotional supports. So this person will be much broader. That's why, and will be housed at central office and work at that level of a position. So it's different, broader.
Thank you. And is bringing in something like second step part of this, this extra $350,000?
So we are looking at a systemic program. We have not decided on second step. We're very familiar with second step. We have pieces of it right now in the district, but not that trajectory, because second step is a social skills program. It helps develop those social skills as well as those emotional needs kids have and give them the language and the voice for how they express their feelings and how they deal with them, giving them and that voice and that language. There are kits per grade level, from kindergarten all the way up to 7th, 8th grade. There's a grade level kit per grade level. And what ends up happening in the kits, there's these small lessons or vignettes where a person in a building, normally the psychologist and or guidance counselor, are scheduled to go into the classes, and they do these 20-minute lessons. And so you can imagine if we buy all the kits and you usually need a kit per class. If teachers are doing it, or a kit per grade level, that's 8 kits. The kits are very pricey. That's why I said whatever program we go with, they are extremely expensive. But I will say, and I do like second step, you do get the return on your money. It's very research-based, very well proven, very successful. I used it before in many other districts. And what it helps you to do is create a systemic language around those social skills. So kids learn to peacefully coexist, learn how to show empathy to one another, how to express when they need support, and it gives them that voice. So with Dr. Macaluso and I are looking at that one. We're also looking at the SEL program that comes out of California, and then there's a program that comes out of Yale. They're very good programs. Many schools are using them. About those other two, we go there. They train a team we send a team of people there, maybe 5 or 6, and that cost is on us to fly them to Yale, to Connecticut, however they get there. They take 5 days to go through an extensive training on the program, and they get certified, and then they're to bring it back, and they're charged with rolling it out in the district. So you don't get that support from them once that's done. So both programs are good. We're looking at that, but they're very pricey. And so, yes, all 3 are being considered. We want to get the psychologist on board and have that person involved in those discussions, and then plan around what we're going to do, then build a professional development cycle around how it will roll out. Because what I have found, and what we no longer we endorse in the cabinet level, is that for our capacity to change as adults and to get our teachers to the point where they're very comfortable with this piece, they're going to need more than a one-shot deal. So how are we going to have a cycle where they get, we have no more PD days in our school year? We're done. The calendar, that's a need we'll look at next year. We have absolutely no more time to have systemic PD. So to buy it now and not be able to roll it out is something we need to consider. We're not going to waste time or money. How we do that? We had the PLC structure, but that's 45 minutes whenever that cycle they meet. So it says to me, it informs that we need to look even at our calendar next year around making sure we have time to do this work. But to begin, yes, all of these things are being considered. We're having very meaty conversations around the rollout that will be presented and developed to the board, to this committee when we are ready to do that. But all are on the table right now. And one more point. So the grant we did submit, the description we submitted for the ARP funds, like Lisa said, we'll come back. We know that it goes 2 or 3 times, because at the time the monies were awarded, we talked about these generic areas. We didn't spell it out in terms of specifically what we're going to do, and they're going to want us to do that. We were on a call a couple of days ago, and that we were told you'll get the opportunity now to flesh out what this is going to look like. That has to be done, then go back, they have to approve it. So that ARP funding, as Lisa said, will be coming. It's not here yet. We just can't wait. We have to get going now with supporting our students to make them feel better about and whole and in these environments as we're trying to support and close the academic gap. Simultaneously, we have to be stuck. So we're excited about all we're trying to do, but there are a lot of pieces.
Thank you. Amy.
Yes. Hi, Dr. Iverson.
Hi, how are you?
I'm good. I'm good. I just had a quick question. I mean, I think definitely I agree that a lot more social emotional support is needed for the kids. But my question was that, have we hired a director for pupil personnel? Is that somebody that this psychologist will also work with? Because you mentioned special ed. So you're going to have special ed population and of course the general ed population.
That's right. Can I give you an update on that? We're so yes, actively recruiting and interviewing simultaneously all the time. We did have a candidate ready to bring to the board for Director of Special Education, PPS, and the person pulled out. So today, Lisa and Dr. Macaluso and I, we were ready. We are still going to look for that position, but this is what's happened, this revolving door. We get someone, we vet them, we put them through rigorous interviews, and they have to present to us. They do a prompt. I mean, they don't just walk in Greenburgh. We are picking the very, very best, and we find them, but somehow they're also interviewing other places. Maybe they get a different offer. I can't tell you what's happening, but she pulled out right at the day of the board meeting. So we're back to looking for this person. So we are looking internally. We pulled on OLADs all of our, we just, because you can create a report to generate looking at the filters you're looking for. We wanted any teacher in the district certified and with the certification to do this job, looking at our own talent. And we did get a list of names. So Dr. Macaluso and I said today, well, okay, how about we look at some of these people? Well, we did call one in, and our approach is, are you interested in looking to, are you interested in applying for this position? So we're trying to groom our own talent. We still have the posting up, and we are calling districts, and we're calling where we've heard there's a good person, and we're calling them directly, trying to entice them to Greenburgh with all that we know we can provide. So they're taking our people, we're taking theirs. So, and I mean that in a gist, but that's what we're doing, and transparency. Okay. So we are trying to get that person, and this person, yes, will supervise the TPS, the psychologist, district psychologist will be a direct report to this person, and the director of PPS is a direct report to Dr. Macaluso.
Ashley,
Yeah, thank you for that detailed explanation, Dr. Iverson. I think it's helpful for the committee to understand all that. That said, we're 49 minutes into this meeting, David, so I think we should get back to some of the meat and potatoes of this. Otherwise, we're going to be here all night.
okay. Then moving on down the line. Lisa. Let's see, we've gone through the CRISA grant, we've gone through the American Rescue Plan. We talked about that the audit is ongoing. We're at the point of dealing with we've had the initial approval of it, and we have we're working on the corrective action plan. Is that correct, Lisa?
That is correct. And David, if you go to the repair reserve fund balance, if after our audit, we will have $4,254,327 in the repair reserve. Once we create the capital reserve, hopefully by photo approval, it doesn't have to be a vote. It just have to be a not a referendum, a public hearing by the board to move money from the repair reserve to the capital reserve so that we can start accumulating money so that we can do future projects.
Correct. Skipping back, property boundary update. There was one property with a shed remaining on it as of last month. Has there been any change in that or any action taken?
I will defer to that to Mike Falcone.
No action has been taken. As I told you last time, I ended up stopping by at that one piece of property. Once again, I think you should fence it in so everybody knows where the property line is. I know, this is just a recommendation that I would make is putting fence up on the properties, especially the ones that are using our property.
Okay. And we know how much that costs?
I would have to see the amount of
per unit cost per length of fence. Yeah. Okay, so that's a to do.
Yep.
Okay. Proposition 1, as you have said, creates a capital reserve fund for multi-year facilities projects. We're not just limited to repairs. We can also upgrade things like replacing a roof. There's no tax increase in the proposition. We're putting a piggy bank in place. We're not putting money in the piggy bank. We have to do that separately. We can once we have the container, we can populate the fund later from leftover repair reserve. We can use the end of year fund balance for the upcoming year. If we have a really big project, we can put money from a bond into that. Once you put it in, you have to vote to take money back out. The vote is December 14th at Woodlands Gymnasium. Polls are open from 7 a.m. till 9 p.m. Are there questions on this? Katie?
I have a question. Is it possible to have whichever staff it is that put the announcements on all those outside boards like Highview has right on Central Avenue and Woodlands has and ECP has? I'm not sure about Jackson and Bailey, but to say soon, December 14th vote.
Props 1 and 2.
Yes, we could do that. I don't know if you want us to share. We do have a communication strategy we're putting in place for getting the word out as well. That is one we will do. We're meeting with our PR consultant to do a postcard and or flyer or trifold that we plan to create with just those bullets around vote this that you've seen in other campaigns that we hope to get out to every member in Greenburgh community, mailed to them. So we hope to have something like that developed as well. I do know the key to this is the communication and getting the word out, but giving people that information. So we have the marquee, as you said, with that, but we know people want to know what it is. And if they're not on this call and maybe didn't attend a board meeting, we don't want to miss that group who just doesn't know what they're voting for. So we have come up with the strategy to really get the word out. And so stay tuned for what will be very attractive, but very meaty, that will include very succinct bullets around what this is based on what this committee has defined, nothing new, but to get that word and spread it.
Chris?
Thanks.
Sorry, so just for more detail on that, I know in the past when we've had to go to the printer for things before a vote, including our newsletter and postcards, that there's been delays in printing, and with Thanksgiving coming up, I'm concerned that we're at November 17th. We have a less than a month to go, and we're still, like, I'm concerned that we may not have specific timelines for when things are due at the printer and when they're going to be mailed out yet.
So we've been thinking about that. We think about those things as well, and we have a plan in place. Our PR consultant has been in touch with the printer, so we do know the timeline when they must have it, so they can get it back to us. So we are working on that. Trustee Valen.
Is the newsletter ready?
The newsletter is at the printer right now. Yes, the newsletter is ready.
Okay.
It's at the printer right now. And I forget when Jackie told me it should be back, but absolutely. We are very mindful of timelines, and we do consider that in our planning.
Super, thank you.
Very good. Any other questions on that? Okay. The energy performance contract, our request for proposal. So we need to go over things. This will be divided into two sections. First, I'd like a little generic information on the energy performance contract, and then we'll have to go into closed session to talk about the responses. So Fred, would you like to anchor that portion?
Yes, absolutely. So just a little history and background. We put an RFP out on the street in July with responses due back in September. We sent it out to 7 or 8 different firms, and we had 6 that actually came to the initial pre-RFP conference that gets done about a week into the RFP process. We eventually got proposals from 3 firms, from Day Automation, from Energy Systems Group, and from Con Edison Solutions. The RFP contained a tremendous amount of information. It talks about what we wanted those contractors to look at specifically. We pulled a number of the items out of the building condition survey report that we had done that were specifically energy related. And I think we had proposed those and presented those to this committee a couple of times in the past. We put those in the RFP, as well as any other items that we felt would make a lot of sense for the district. So we customized that RFP, put it out on the street. Along with that, there are a number of different attachments. So we send them copies of all of your utility bills for oil, natural gas, and electric. We send them floor plans of all the buildings. We send them roof plans of all the buildings. We send them their asbestos reports. We try and give them as much information as we can so that when they walk around those buildings and run their calculations, that they can be as complete as possible. So that's basically the RFP. I know all that information, I believe, is on the website, or is that where it is, David?
I placed on the Google Drive. You have the RFP itself and any addendums that went with it, and the cover memos and the sort of those sorts of things are there. I can pull up more detailed information if you want a set of utility bills, but right now that's what we have. And so at this point, first, are there any questions on the generic process, on the part we can talk about before we get into the responses from the candidates? Any questions? All right, so we're going to, in order to look at the responses, since this is a pending contract, we need to go into closed session, which means we'll just be on a Zoom call. You won't be able to look at us from the internet for this portion. It's just like in a board meeting, and you need to either be a member of the Finance and Facilities Committee that has been that has been put on the list that the board approved, or a member of the administration or one of the board members. So the people I've got that were approved on October 5th are Dr. Carol Allen, Gabriella Barahoma, Dave Breachlaw, Hugh McCauley, Megan Moriarty-Hawk, Sarah Lazari, Katie McGee, Donna Morton, Steve Morton, Faisal Siddiqui, and Walter Simon. Those are the people in the community who are able to participate in this little portion of the meeting. And the other people will need to go to the waiting room And I'm going to stop sharing my screen here. And so Laser, can you help me?
Yes. So hold on, let me stop the live stream.
Okay. Do I hear, wait, before you do that, do I hear a motion to go into closed session to discuss the responses to the energy performance contract RFP?
So move.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.